My name is Arya Calder, 30 years old. A week before my son's 10th birthday, my dad called with that careful tone he always used when he wanted to soften a blow. He said money was tight. They wouldn't be coming to the party. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear, trying to keep my voice steady. I told him it wasn't going to be anything big. Just a few friends at the park, some balloons from the dollar store, hot dogs on the grill. I said he didn't need to bring a gift, didn't need to spend a dime. Just come drink coffee, sit with us, be part of the day. He hesitated. My mom later sent a thumbs up emoji. My dad followed with a text. We'll see. I knew what that usually meant. I still held on to hope. The morning of my son's birthday, he sat at the table eating cereal, debating whether to bring his scooter to the park. I scrolled Instagram out of habit, not expecting to see anything that mattered. Then I saw it. A live stream. My sister's name flashing at the top. I tapped. The first thing I saw was a giant bounce house, bright red and blue, towering higher than anything I'd ever rented. Kids were shrieking with laughter, bouncing until they collapsed in heaps. The camera panned. My dad was carrying a tray of cupcakes with custom toppers, cartoon characters my nephew adored. My mom was tying balloons to a table stacked with gifts almost to her shoulders. It wasn't just a birthday party, it was a carnival. Clowns twisting balloon animals, a magician setting up, face painting, a photo booth with props, the kind of spread you'd find on Pinterest boards labeled dream parties. I froze, my son leaning over my shoulder. He saw them, saw the joy on their faces. He whispered, Mom, don't they need me? I couldn't answer. My hands trembled as I locked the phone and set it face down. Something cold ran through me. Not anger yet, but that sharp ache when excuses finally collapse and you realize they weren't careless. They were deliberate. My son went to grab his shoes, still holding the card he'd made for my dad. Crayon drawings, uneven hearts, a gift from a 10-year-old who just wanted to be seen. At the park, my husband kept the music playing, the grill sizzling. Friends laughed, kids chased each other. But in my head, I wasn't there. I kept seeing clowns and bounce houses, hearing my dad's voice from the night before. Money's tight. That evening, after the dishes were stacked and my son was asleep, I logged into our email, pulled up the PDF of the rent check we'd been sending their landlord for over 3 years. $950 every month, like clockwork. I snapped a photo of the file, typed a subject line, return to sender. No explanation, no warning, just that. I hit send. The next morning, I was in the shower when the pounding began. At first, I thought it was construction. Then my husband's voice, muffled through steam, saying it had been going on for 20 minutes. I stepped out, dripping, wrapped in a towel. My phone lit with missed calls. My mom, my dad, one from my sister. The voicemail preview from her just said, What the hell did you do? Then the sound that made my chest seize, a key turning in the lock. The chain held. The door jolted, but didn't open. For a second, I couldn't breathe. Years ago, when my son was a baby, my parents insisted on keeping a key for emergencies. I never asked for it back. My mistake. There was a pause, then a knock. Not gentle, firm, demanding. My dad's voice. Arya, we need to clear the air. I stood frozen in the hallway. My husband crossed his arms, silent, waiting. My mom's voice followed, soft, fake, concerned. Is your son okay? Are you okay? As if they hadn't been live streaming laughter 12 hours before, while my boy sat at our table, wondering what he'd done wrong. I dressed quickly, pulled my hair into a knot, and opened the door. They stood there, not sorry, not even sheepish, just uncomfortable. My mom held a pink pastry box, a plastic Party City bag dangling from her wrist. My dad stared at the porch floor. Why lie? I asked flatly. He looked up, defensive. It wasn't a lie, just poor timing. We thought you understood money's tight. It wasn't a real party, just a little celebration for the boys starting school. A little celebration? My voice sharpened. Clowns. A magician. A bounce house taller than the house itself. My son watched it live. He cried when you didn't show. My mom jumped in, her smile brittle. It's not about favorites, Arya. You're being too sensitive. We would have loved for you to come too. It wasn't exclusive. Exclusive. That word nearly made me laugh. They never invited us. Never even told us. Then my dad said the line that turned my stomach. If you're going to make a scene over this, maybe you should think about consequences. About the will. It's a shame how some people forget who supported them growing up. I stepped forward, my voice low but cutting. We made our sacrifices quietly. Paid your rent. paid for my sister's car repairs, groceries, her dental work, birthday gifts for her twins when you couldn't afford them. We never asked for thanks. You never offered. And you dare talk about consequences? They shifted, defensive, cornered. My dad muttered something about loyalty. My mom rolled her eyes, muttering, "This is ridiculous." I straightened. "The rent is over, permanently. Figure it out, just like we always had to." My husband stepped closer, his presence solid at my back. "It's time to leave," he said firmly. They hesitated. For the first time, my dad looked uncertain. My mom clutched the pastry box tighter, as if sugar could sweeten what they'd done. I didn't move, neither did my husband. Finally, they turned. My mom muttered as they stepped off the porch. My dad didn't look back. I shut the door and leaned against it, exhaling a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. That day dragged slow. My son didn't ask about them once. He played with his toys, humming softly, and later asked if we could go to the arcade next weekend instead. I smiled and said yes. He nodded, serious, and added, "I don't really like clowns anyway." That night, as I tucked him in, I looked at the card he'd made, the one he'd never get to hand over. I couldn't throw it away. I slid it into the drawer beside his bed. I told myself this was the end, but deep down I knew better. People like my parents don't accept boundaries. They push, they twist, they rewrite. And by tomorrow morning, I would already be the villain in their story. By the next morning, the war had already gone public. I woke up to 23 notifications. My sister had posted a screenshot of my email, the one with the rent check photo and the subject line "Return to Sender." Her caption dripped with smugness. "She's bitter," it read, "jealous that my kids are happy, while hers is raised in silence. She ruined a beautiful day with drama and tried to punish our parents over something petty." The comments poured in fast. Her friends, distant cousins, even mutual acquaintances chimed in. "Wow, some people just need attention. Isn't she the one who never shows up anyway?" So sad when siblings become enemies. It didn't surprise me, not really. What cut was the ease with which strangers and relatives alike swallowed her version of the story. I scrolled until my chest tightened. Then, buried under the pile of ridicule, one comment stopped me. "You did the right thing, Arya. It's about time." It was from my aunt, the quiet one who rarely took sides. Just one line, but it glowed like a lighthouse in a storm. I set my phone down, heart pounding. That afternoon, I opened my laptop and began closing tabs in my life. First, I emailed my parents' landlord, told him any future rent issues were no longer our concern. I CC'd my dad. No reply came. Next, I shut off the shared grocery account we'd been refilling for my sister, deleted the autopay, canceled the Amazon Prime she leached off, changed the Netflix password, changed everything. Each click felt like cutting a rope I'd been dragging for years. By evening, my mom texted, "Your sister is devastated. Her boys are confused. You really hurt this family." I stared at the message while packing my son's lunch for school. He wanted pretzels that day. I gave him 2 bags. That night, he came home with a drawing in his backpack. Our little family under a tree, eating cake. He'd written, "The best birthday in the corner." "Do you want to hang it up?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, it's just for me." The next night, my sister went nuclear. She posted a long Facebook status declaring she no longer had a sister. "Done trying to include people who don't want to be happy for our family," she wrote. "People who hold money over others don't deserve to be in our lives." It got nearly 100 likes, heart reactions. Friends commented, "Proud of you for setting boundaries." The irony wasn't lost on me, but it stung anyway. For a few seconds, I actually believed her, that I didn't have a sister anymore. I sat in the bathroom, door locked, crying quietly. 10 minutes, maybe 15. My husband didn't knock. He just waited outside in the hall. When I came out red-eyed, he lifted a takeout menu and asked, "Pizza or Chinese?" I pointed, "Chinese." He smiled. That was his way of saying, "I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Later that night, I opened an old folder in the drawer. Letters, receipts, scraps I'd held on to without realizing why. I found the envelope from when we gave my sister $5,000 for moving costs. She'd sworn she'd pay it back within the year. That was 7 years ago. Beside it, a spreadsheet my husband had kept, tallying every loan, every emergencies we'd covered. Over $15,000. Rent, bills, birthdays, dental work, car repairs, all given. None returned. Not even a thank you. I stared at the number until my eyes blurred. Then I whispered into the dark, "That's it." But even as I said it, I knew better. With my family, nothing was ever it. Boundaries weren't endings. They were invitations to push harder. Friday morning, the email came. Subject, urgent notice, past due rent. It wasn't spam. It was from the landlord directly to me. 2 months unpaid. He'd waited, given our history, but now he needed to know if we were still backing the lease. Otherwise, he'd issue a notice to vacate. My hands hovered over the keyboard. For years, my instinct had been to fix, to cover, to pay. But I closed the email, archived it, and walked away. Not an hour later, the calls began. Dad first, then Mom, then numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't answer. By noon, a voicemail appeared from Marcus, my sister's boyfriend. His voice was oiled with false calm. "Hey, Arya, look, I just want to help mediate. This is all a big misunderstanding. Maybe you don't realize how hard things have been for them." I remembered the Christmas he begged me for $600 to surprise the twins. Promised he'd Venmo me back in a week. That was 3 years ago. He never did. I blocked him. Then came a call with no caller ID. I answered out of reflex. It was my mom. She didn't start with anger. She started with guilt. Said the boys were crying. Said my sister wasn't eating. Said this had gone too far. When I stayed silent, her voice shifted. Smooth, businesslike. She said she was willing to transfer me $1,000 right then if I could just cover this month's rent. Dad's trying to sell a few things, she added quickly. We've already moved heirlooms and furniture into storage. The china set, some furniture. It's not a big deal. We just need time. Something in me snapped cold. They were already preparing to leave, preparing to lose everything. And only now, with the safety net gone, did they bother to say it out loud. Then she dropped the line that gutted me. "You owe us, Arya, for everything we gave you growing up." I hung up. No goodbye, no curse, just ended it. That night, when my husband came home, I told him everything. He didn't flinch. He just went to the hall closet, pulled out an old worn folder, and flipped to the last page. A number circled in red. "Our savings," he said. His voice was steady, firm. "It's enough. Let's buy a house. New district, new neighbors, new everything. Let them burn their bridges. We're not standing on the other side anymore." I couldn't even speak. I just nodded. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The house was quiet when the next blow landed. My husband had left early for a meeting. My son was curled on the couch, building a Lego police station, humming to himself when my phone buzzed again. Not a call this time. A message. From my sister. 2 photos, no words. The first was a receipt for a storage unit. 3 months prepaid, their names on it, an address across town. Proof of what Mom had hinted at, that they were moving things into storage, preparing to lose the roof over their heads. The second photo made my breath catch. A crumpled sheet of yellow legal paper, scrawled in my dad's unmistakable handwriting. The photo cut off at the bottom, but the opening lines were clear. "Arya, if this is goodbye, then there's something you never knew. Your sister's first birthday. We couldn't afford gifts for both of you. We chose her, and we kept choosing her." I stared at it, my chest hollow. My sister hadn't typed a message. No explanation. Just the image, like a knife, slipped silently between ribs. For an hour, I didn't open the second photo. I left it sitting in the message thread, glowing like a dare. I paced the kitchen, rinsed dishes, folded laundry that didn't need folding. I told myself I didn't need to see the rest. But eventually, curiosity won. The second photo finished the letter. My dad's jagged scrawl spilled out across the page. Not because she needed it more, but because you didn't ask. You were quiet, easy, never complained. It made it easier to keep giving to the one who made noise. That doesn't mean we were right. It means we were lazy, selfish. We should have invested in you. You grew up and became the strongest person in this family. I saw it. I just never said it. Not once. And I'm sorry. I thought there would be time. No signature, no goodbye, just that. I set the phone on the counter, pressing both hands flat to steady myself. For years, I'd told myself they didn't notice, that maybe they were oblivious, that they hadn't realized how blatant the favoritism was. I'd comforted myself with the thought that they were just blind, but here was the truth in his own hand. They knew, they noticed, and they chose anyway. I thought back to every Christmas where my son unwrapped socks while the twins built Lego cities, every birthday where my parents made excuses, only to show up on my sister's feed later, surrounded by gifts and balloons. I'd thought the imbalance was ignorance, but it had been deliberate. Convenience dressed as parenting. That night, I showed my husband. He read the letter once, jaw tight, then folded the photo back into my phone case. "You don't owe them a thing," he said quietly. I nodded, but my throat ached with something I couldn't name. Not forgiveness, not anger. Something heavier. Grief, maybe. For the childhood I thought I'd had. For the parents I thought they'd been. The next morning, I drafted a short email to their landlord. "The moving truck is confirmed. They have until the end of the week. Future rent inquiries should not involve me." I hit send. 2 hours later, my mom texted. "Saw the truck. Thank you. I hope one day you understand." I read it twice, then deleted it. There was nothing left to understand. They had understood exactly what they were doing every time they chose her. By Wednesday, they were gone. No forwarding address, no goodbye. My sister posted a vague Instagram story about new beginnings, clean slates. I didn't finish watching it. Instead, I walked through the backyard of a house we'd just toured. It had peeling paint on the deck, a stubborn swing set half sunk into the dirt, and a lemon tree in the corner, branches heavy with fruit. My son darted toward it, eyes wide. "Can we plant carrots here?" he asked breathlessly. I knelt beside him. "Of course we can." Then he looked at me, serious, as if asking something bigger than he realized. "We're still going camping for my next birthday, right? Just us?" "Just us," I said. He nodded, satisfied, and ran back to the swing set. That night, while my husband scrolled through Zillow listings and my son sketched spaceships on a takeout menu, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't family, it was a stranger, a daycare manager from another state. She said my sister had listed me as an emergency contact. Payments had bounced, numbers were disconnected. She was trying to reach someone. I stared at the message, the lemon tree still vivid in my mind. Then I typed back politely, "I'm no longer in contact. I can't help." I thought that would be the end of it. But karma has a way of circling back, always knocking one more time. I thought the message from the daycare manager would be the last ripple, a reminder that my sister's world was crumbling 3 states away, far enough that I could hold my boundaries without guilt. But karma isn't neat. It doesn't tie bows. It shows up on your doorstep when you least expect it. It was a Thursday evening, the sky streaked with orange, when a knock rattled our front door. My husband opened it, expecting a neighbor. Instead, there they were. My parents, my sister, her boys, all of them. They looked wrecked. My sister's mascara streaked her cheeks, her hair pulled back in a hasty knot. My mom clutched a duffel bag so stuffed the zipper had split, as if she'd swept her life into it in under 10 minutes. My dad stood behind them, shoulders sagging, eyes fixed on the welcome mat. He couldn't even meet my gaze. For a moment, no one spoke. My son peeked from the hallway, clutching his Lego spaceship, wide-eyed at the sight of his grandparents on our porch. Finally, my sister's voice cracked the silence. "We don't know where else to go. I made a mistake. I'm sorry." The words tumbled out, desperate, but something was missing. She didn't say, "I was wrong." She didn't say, "You didn't deserve this." Only, "You don't understand what it's like." I tightened my grip on the door frame. "You're right. I don't understand. I was never given the chance to fall apart. I was expected to hold everything together while you were handed everything." My mom stepped forward, hope flickering in her eyes. "Aria, please, the boys—" My husband moved beside me, his presence solid. He didn't raise his voice. He just said, "It's time for you to leave." My dad stayed silent, his gaze pinned to the ground. It was the silence of a man who knew he had nothing left to defend. My sister's boys shuffled their feet, confused, their sneakers scuffing the porch. My sister tried one last time. "They miss you. They love their cousin." My chest ached, but my voice stayed steady. "I forgive the debt," I said quietly, "but not the damage." And I closed the door. There was no knocking this time, no raised voices, just footsteps retreating into the night. I stood there for a long moment, forehead against the wood, listening to my own heartbeat. My son came up beside me, small hands slipping into mine. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. Later, when I tucked him into bed, he whispered, "We're still going camping, right? Just us?" "Just us," I repeated. That night, sleep didn't come easy. I lay awake replaying their faces, my sister's desperation, my mom's pleading, my dad's silence. But the image that lingered most was my son's steady hand in mine. That was the anchor. That was the reason. By the weekend, the moving truck came for real. I saw it parked outside their old apartment, piled with boxes and cracked furniture. I forwarded the confirmation to their landlord. Then I shut my laptop, poured coffee, and walked outside. The lemon tree in our new yard had started to bloom, sunlight glinting off its glossy leaves. For the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. Not victory, not revenge, just peace. But deep down, I knew the story wasn't over. With my family, silence never meant closure. It meant regrouping. It meant they were already writing the next chapter, and I had to decide whether I'd ever read it. The week after they left, the air in our house changed. It was subtle at first. No buzzing phone on the counter, no voicemails thick with guilt, no passive-aggressive comments bleeding through group chats. Just quiet. For the first time in years, the quiet didn't feel like waiting for the other shoe to drop. It felt like freedom. We moved into the new house a month later. Fresh paint still clung to the walls, the kind of sharp smell that meant beginnings. My son had his own room now, decorated exactly the way he wanted, glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling, a bookshelf full of space books, and a poster of a robot riding a dinosaur. He never once asked about them. Not his grandparents, not his aunt, not the cousins he used to share cake with. He seemed to understand, in that uncanny way children sometimes do, that silence is safer than questions. The lemon tree in the backyard bloomed in late spring. My son planted carrots in the patch of dirt beside it. When the sprouts came up, he tugged one from the ground and washed it like a gold nugget in the sink. "It's weird," he said, "how you can grow something from nothing." I smiled, but my throat tightened. Because that was me, growing something from the nothing they'd left me with. In August, an email came from a debt collector. Not for me, for my sister. Apparently, years ago, she'd listed me as a backup reference. They were trying to find her. I replied politely, stated we were no longer in contact. The collector thanked me, and that was the end. Just another thread snipped, one more tether gone. Some nights I wondered what story they told now. Maybe that I was cruel, ungrateful, selfish. Maybe they said I'd turned my back on family. Let them. I'd spent too long carrying the weight of their version. A few weeks later, I sat on the back steps with my husband, sipping coffee while the sun broke over the fence. The yard glowed gold, the lemon tree swaying gently. My husband reached over, squeezed my hand, and said something simple. "You don't owe anyone your peace, Arya." The words sank deeper than any apology I'd ever wanted from my parents. Because that's what I'd been giving away all those years. My peace. Every rent check, every bailout, every birthday overshadowed by another child's bounce house. I gave it until I didn't know what peace even felt like anymore. Now I notice everything. The sound of my son's laugh echoing through his new room. The hum of our house at night when everyone's asleep. The way my husband brushes past me in the kitchen and taps my hand just to remind me he's there. Small things. Quiet things. People assume when you cut off family, it's dramatic. Slamming doors, screaming matches, final words shouted in rage. But the truth is, the real ending is quiet. It's in the things that don't happen anymore. No more waiting for texts that never come. No more bending over backwards to hold together a fake peace. No more pretending. Almost a year has passed since that door closed on them. Sometimes sadness still visits, like a guest that overstays. On birthdays, on holidays, in the moments when my son asks something kind and I wonder who he learned it from. Certainly not from the people who raised me. But even that sadness fades, slowly, like bruises. I don't know where they are now. I don't know if they remember the letter or if they regret the words they wrote. We chose her, and we kept choosing her. I don't know if they tell themselves a different story, one where I was the villain who walked away from love. Maybe they believe it. But here's the truth I've learned. Sometimes you grow up thinking you're hard to love because no one ever loved you the way you needed. The truth is, you were never the problem. They just weren't capable. And once you understand that, you can finally put down the weight. I did.